Hey guys, it's Simply Imaginary People or Frankie again. Welcome to part 4. So after part 3 we have our final mesh here. We have the parts that we need to have solid. We have solid and we're in Milkshape. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to delete this again and I'm going to import the child base body top, which you'll find linked. So I need CU top. So it's pretty much just this. And the first thing we're going to do, which you only have to do once if you then export it and save it as the clean version, is we're going to go to Tools, Model Clean, and just model clean this, delete the material, and then we're just going to select this whole group, and we're going to go to Vertex Align Normals. The align normals thing is literally just because sometimes you get like these lines along here where the arms are attached to the body and you don't want that in the end. So you only have to do this once. If you then go to File, Export Wavefront Object and just save it again as, I guess, clean top or something, then the next time you don't have to do this part. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to File, Import Wavefront Object, and we're going to import our mesh on top, so it should fit over the top. And just go to Materials, make sure you delete everything. So here we can see it's our child with the top, and you can see that you can sometimes see a bit of the back of the coat, which is generally why I solidify part of that bit, otherwise it'll look weird in game. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to hide the top and unhide it again, and just see if I go to wireframe overlay, make sure the body isn't selected. There we go. If I hide it, I'm just going to see literally how far down the sleeves go. So the sleeves go to about here, which means I can delete the arm. I don't need the body under the mesh because obviously we're not going to see it and it will just make our polycount high. So we're going to go to Model, we're going to go to Select, and make sure Vertex is clicked here. And then we're just going to literally zoom in, and I'm just going to select this arm and pretty much delete it, and on the other side too. Right, now if I hide this again, you'll see I can't see what I deleted. Now I've got to see how far the body goes up to. So this is our top point here. So I can delete all the way up to at least this line. So I'm just going to do that. Unhide it again. You can see you can still go a bit further up, so I'm just going to delete the next line again. Right. Unhide it again. And I still don't see any gaps. Make sure you turn it to all angles so that you can make sure that you didn't delete too much. Now I'm going to do the back. So hide this again and see that I can delete that lower line. Unhide it, make sure it looks okay. Yep, I don't see any gaps. Unhide again and see how far I can go up with the shoulders, so I can pretty much delete at least this. Same on the other side. Yep, I can delete this corner one. The more you delete, the less clipping you have for first point, and the less poly count you have. So, because if you think about it, if I have a body underneath, the body can clip through the clothing. So the less body I have, the less chance there is of clipping. Just don't delete too much, obviously. Right, I think that should be good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to unhide that, and I'm going to save this. I'll export as a wavefront object, just as puff6, just to make sure that maybe if I have to redo the mesh, I don't have to delete all the body parts again. So I like to save it as an object. And when I'm done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both groups. I'm just going to press regroup. So I only have one group, and then in here I'm going to write group base, rename it, and then I'm going to go to File, Export, scroll all the way down, and if you installed the plugin you get TSRW object. And again, under my puff folder, I'm just going to save this as puff. Okay, puff. And it'll be saved as a .wso. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to open the Mesh Toolkit. We're going to go to Auto Tools for WSO, Auto Assign Bones. And in the top one, the one we want to modify, we're going to pick our puff. Now, for the reference mesh, either you already have reference meshes like I do because I make so much clothes, or what you need to do is you need to quickly go into TSRW. Make sure you use an old version of TSRW. I can link you to that if you want it, because the newer versions usually mess up clothing. Wait for it to load. And what you need to do is you need to open a piece of clothing that looks a bit like your mesh. So long sleeve, short sleeve, how long the mesh is, maybe if it has a hood or something. So I'm going to go and open one of mine. So I'm just going to pick a random one. Let's open hoodie, I guess. You can pick anything. I would advise using CC that's meshed and not EA meshes, because usually they're just not that good. So this one will do for the moment. And you're going to go to mesh, and you're going to pick high level detail, and you're going to export it as something.wso. I guess hoodie base WSO. I'm not going to do this because I don't need it. And then in your reference mesh, you're going to pick that WSO you just exported. So I'm going to use one that I know is relatively good. I'm just going to use a sweater. These are the ones. And you're going to pick that WSO, that's your reference. And literally what it's going to do is it's going to, just unselect this. For each of these little dots, it's going to copy the information about bones from your reference mesh to these dots, depending on which one is closer. So it's literally just going to import the other mesh on top of this and copy the detail for this vert from the vert that is closest to it on your reference mesh. So the closer your reference mesh is to your mesh, the better it's going to work. And you're going to make sure it says replace all bone assignments and do interpolation. I'm just going to say do assignments and save. And I usually save this as puff B for bones 1, because it's my first version. Probably have a lot of versions in the end. Right, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll show you what comes out. So I'm just going to delete this. And then you go file, import TSRW object, and import puff B1. So if you can see, this is going to be my mesh. And if I go to joints and I put on draw vertices with bone colors, you'll see it has colors. So literally each little vert here has gotten a color, and it's assigned a mix of bones. So I can show you what I mean. If I select one vert and I press show here, this bone is assigned to 69% spine 1, 13% spine 2, 13% clavicle, and 5% spine 0. So clavicle would obviously be this area, spine 2 is this, spine 0 is higher, spine 1 I think is lower or something. And yeah, so each one, and this is pretty much telling the game when the person moves their clavicle and spine area, move this part of the mesh with it. So if I assign this to arm and they move their arm up, then this vert is also going to move up. And that's usually the errors we get later, but we'll fix that in another part. So yeah, you should have this nice and colorful mesh. Generally, the one issue I like to fix is if you have a very long mesh, like this one, sometimes, or you have like a super long sweater, then if you assign it with a reference mesh that's shorter, then all of the bottom just becomes yellow. And that usually means it doesn't move with the leg. So usually what I like to do is I go again to select verts, I select the bottom part, I go to joints and I press clear. And you can see that it gets rid of the colors. And then I go to file, export, TSRW object. I'm just going to save as puff B1 again. Go back to mesh toolkit. This one still has, I now pick the puff B1, and I'm going to use a reference of literally just a naked child bottom. So find bottom nude or body nude, and I only want to replace the empty bone assignment, so only these grey ones that I deleted. And literally what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this part, if it overlaps the legs, is assigned to legs, because I'm now assigning it to a mesh using a reference mesh that has legs on it as well. I'm just going to do assignment. What does it say? Oh, reference mesh, wrong one. And I'm going to go to puff and just save over puff B1 again. So now if I delete this again, it's not going to look much different, but literally what it did is sometimes if it's even longer, then this part needs to bend with the leg if the person's like in the sitting position. And it just edits that a little bit. Same thing needs to be done with shoes. If you've got like boot high shoes, just assigning it to a low shoe is going to make all the rest of it not move with the leg. Right, and that is pretty much the end of this small part. And I'll see you for the next one.